Years ago, a poor university student stood outside a tiny restaurant with empty pockets and a hungry stomach. The owner quietly fed him for free. The student disappeared after graduation, but years later, a luxury car stopped in front of that same restaurant. A rich man stepped out and asked one shocking question. "Do you recognize me?" What happened next changed 3 lives forever. Thank you for listening to this heartfelt story. If it moved you, share it. Comments below and let someone know you are never alone. The university gate stood tall every morning. Cold wind brushed my face, while students walked past. With laughter and cups of coffee, my pockets stayed light. My dreams felt heavy. Across the street, a tiny restaurant breathed warmth. Steam rose from bowls of soup. The smell of rice and bread floated through the air. I stood outside many days, watching people eat. One evening, the owner opened the door and looked straight at me. His eyes carried kindness. "Come inside," he said softly. That day, a warm plate rested in front of me. Rice, soup, fresh bread. My hands trembled. He smiled as if he understood every silent struggle inside my chest. Days turned into months. Books filled my nights. Hope filled my heart. Whenever hunger arrived, his door opened again. His daughter often helped him. Quiet, gentle, bright eyes like morning light. Graduation day arrived. I walked into the restaurant, with gratitude burning inside my chest. "Today I leave the university," I said. The old man placed a hand on my shoulder. Pride shined in his eyes. Years passed. Roads grew long. Work grew harder. Dreams slowly turned into success. One afternoon, my car stopped in front of that small restaurant. The same door. The same smell of warm food. I stepped inside. The owner looked older. His daughter stood beside him. Both watched the stranger in an expensive suit. I asked gently, "Do you recognize me?" Confusion filled their faces. Then I smiled. "I am the hungry student who ate here with hope." The old man rushed forward and wrapped his arms around me. His daughter served the same meal. Our eyes met across the table. Something quiet and powerful began to grow in my heart. And in that moment, while sunlight poured through the restaurant window, I realized my life had brought me back here. For a reason I was only beginning to understand. Because every dream that grew inside me somehow started in this small room, with kindness, with warm bread, and with the gentle girl now standing beside my table. Her voice soft, her smile patient, and my heart slowly preparing to speak words that could change both of our lives as I looked toward her and said that there was something I wished to ask her and her father about the future that was waiting for us here inside this small restaurant where my story first found hope, and where another story was quietly beginning to unfold in front of us all while the evening light settled over the tables and the old man watched us with curious eyes as I reached for the courage that had carried me through every difficult year. And I turned toward her again and began to speak about the promise growing inside my heart and the life I dreamed of building with the woman who once served food to a hungry student and now stood before a man whose heart still remembered every moment of kindness that lived within these walls. As I slowly lifted my eyes to meet hers again and waited for her answer while the room held its breath and the future opened quietly before us both. Her eyes rested on mine, soft, curious, a little surprised. The restaurant felt smaller in that moment. Steam rose slowly from the bowl she placed before me. The same soup, the same warm bread. Memories moved through my chest like a quiet river. Her father watched us with gentle patience. I stood from the chair. My heart beat with the same nervous rhythm I once felt while standing outside this door. As a hungry student, I carried your kindness with me for many years, I said. The old man smiled slowly. His daughter listened, with silent attention. Every long night of study, every difficult day of work, I remembered this place. My fingers touched the wooden table. The surface still carried the small scratches I remembered from long ago. This table saw a young man with empty pockets, I said softly. Her father nodded. Pride warmed his tired face. And today it sees a man who still remembers where his strength began. The daughter's eyes brightened. A quiet warmth grew between us. Outside the window, cars passed. Students walked through the university gate, just as they had years ago. Life continued its steady rhythm. I looked toward her again. My success grew from kindness, I said. My future deserves the same kindness. The old man leaned forward slightly. The room filled with the gentle sound of cooking from the kitchen. My voice slowed. Careful. Respectful. I returned today for more than memories. Her fingers tightened softly around the edge of the table. Her father studied my face. I returned because the person who stood beside that kindness all those years also stayed in my thoughts. A quiet silence settled across the room. Even the street outside seemed distant. I built my life with patience, I continued. Step by step. Her eyes searched mine. And now I wish to build something even more meaningful. The old man folded his hands. Waiting. Understanding slowly appeared in his expression. I turned fully toward her. The sunlight from the window touched her face. Soft golden light. The same gentle smile she carried years ago. My path led me across many cities, I said quietly. But somehow it always returned here. Her breathing slowed. Careful. Hopeful. And today I stand in the same place where a kind family once fed a hungry student, ready to ask a question that has lived in my heart for a very long time while the warmth of this small restaurant surrounds us again. And the future slowly begins to open in front of us as I gather the courage to speak the words that could change everything between us while her father watches closely and she waits with quiet anticipation for what I am about to say next as the evening light grows deeper through the window and my heart prepares to reveal the dream I carried back to this door after all these years. And I begin to explain the life I hope to build beside her right here where kindness first shaped the man I have become today. The evening light softened around us. Golden rays slipped through the window and rested gently on the wooden tables. I felt the warmth of that moment, deep inside my chest. Her father remained silent. His eyes moved between us, careful, observant, wise. The daughter stood very still. Her hands rested near the bowl of soup, yet her attention stayed with my words. My life changed because of kindness, I said slowly. Every opportunity, every success began here. I gestured softly toward the small restaurant. The walls carried years of memories. Laughter, hard work, quiet sacrifices. I remember cold mornings, I continued. I remember standing outside this door, wondering how to find strength for another day. Her father nodded gently. He remembered. I remember the moment you invited me inside, I said. That moment planted courage in my heart. The daughter listened with deep focus. Her eyes shone with emotion. And I remember the quiet girl who served food beside her father. A shy smile touched her lips. The air felt warmer, more alive. Outside the restaurant, students crossed the university gate again. Young faces, ambitious dreams. The same journey once lived inside me. My life grew larger, I said. Big offices, long meetings, cities full of noise. I paused. The restaurant suddenly felt like the calm center of everything. But peace always lived in this place. Her father leaned forward. Curiosity deepened in his expression. My heart searched for something greater than success. The daughter lowered her eyes slightly, listening, understanding, and slowly I realized the answer waited here all along. Silence settled around us again. Soft, meaningful. I looked directly at her. I returned today because I want to build a life filled with the same kindness that saved me years ago. Her breathing slowed. The old man watched carefully. I wish to stand beside someone who understands simple things. Warm food, honest work, loyal hearts. The daughter lifted her eyes again. There was surprise there, but also something gentle, something hopeful. I see that strength in you, I said quietly, and I believe our futures may walk the same road. The father exhaled slowly. Emotion touched his face. My voice softened even more. I wish to ask both of you something important today. The daughter's fingers moved slightly across the table. Waiting. The old man's expression turned serious, yet kind. Outside, the evening grew deeper. Inside, every second carried meaning. I stepped closer to the table, closer to them, closer to the moment that had lived in my heart for many years as I prepared to share the dream that had guided me back to this humble restaurant, and to the gentle woman standing before me while the quiet room held the weight of possibility and my words slowly began to form again, ready to reveal the life I hoped to build beside her and the promise I wished to place in her father's careful hands as the night air drifted through the open door and the story that began with a simple act of kindness continued to grow into something far greater than any of us had imagined while I finally gathered the courage to continue speaking about the future waiting just beyond this moment. The night air moved gently through the open door. A quiet breeze carried the scent of the street, mixed with the warm smell of bread. My heart felt steady now. The moment had arrived. I looked at her father first. Respect guided every word. "You gave a hungry student more than food," I said softly. "You gave him dignity." The old man lowered his eyes for a moment. Emotion rested quietly on his face. That dignity became the foundation of my life. His daughter stood beside him, silent, yet deeply present. "I built businesses," I continued. "I traveled through cities filled with noise and ambition." My voice slowed. "But success alone leaves an empty chair beside the table." The restaurant grew still. Even the kitchen sounds faded. I returned because I believe life must be built with people who understand kindness. Her father studied my face carefully. Years of wisdom moved behind his eyes. "And your daughter carries that same kindness." The girl looked surprised. A faint blush warmed her cheeks. Her father turned toward her briefly, then back toward me. My heart kept remembering her smile, I said. The quiet strength she carried while helping her father. The daughter's hands folded gently. Hope and uncertainty moved together inside her gaze. "I searched many places for peace," I said, "and every road somehow pointed back here." The old man slowly pulled out a chair. He gestured for me to sit again. A thoughtful silence filled the room. The daughter brought tea this time. Her hands moved carefully. She placed the cup before me. Our fingers brushed for a brief second, a small moment, yet it carried warmth like sunlight. Her father finally spoke. "You speak with honesty," he said slowly. His voice held both caution and kindness. "But life requires patience." I nodded. "I understand. My journey taught me patience." The old man leaned back. His eyes softened. Outside the window, the university lights glowed softly. Students continued walking across the campus road, dreams still beginning, just like mine once did. "You speak about the future," the old man said, "but the future must grow step by step." His daughter listened closely. Every word mattered. I felt gratitude rise inside my chest again. "I am ready for every step," I answered calmly, "because this place reminds me where true beginnings happen." The father looked toward his daughter. She met his eyes. A quiet understanding passed between them. Then the old man slowly turned back toward me, as if preparing to ask something important while the daughter remained beside the table listening carefully, and the restaurant lights reflected softly on the wooden floor as the night continued to deepen outside, and the small room held the beginning of a conversation that would slowly shape the path forward for all three of us, while the old man leaned forward slightly ready to speak again, and my heart waited with steady patience for the next words that would guide what happens next inside this humble restaurant where kindness once fed a hungry student, and now quietly prepares to shape another chapter of life still unfolding. The old man folded his hands on the table. His eyes stayed calm, yet thoughtful. The small restaurant felt wrapped in quiet attention. "You speak with gratitude," he said slowly, "and gratitude reveals a good heart." His daughter stood beside the counter. The soft kitchen light touched her face. She listened carefully, as if every word carried weight. "But life also tests patience," the father continued. "Kindness alone must grow with responsibility." I nodded with respect. "I understand. My journey taught me the value of every step." The old man studied me again. Years of experience moved behind his gentle eyes. "You returned with success," he said, "but success often changes people." His daughter glanced toward me. Curiosity lived in her gaze. "My success never erased my memories," I answered quietly. "I remember every evening I sat at this table. The wooden surface still held faint marks of time. I remember the warmth of the soup, and the kindness that filled the room." The father's expression softened. The daughter slowly walked closer. Her footsteps were light, almost careful. She placed another cup of tea on the table. Steam curled slowly upward. Our eyes met again. There was something new in that look. Quiet spark. Growing gently. I built companies, I said. But the most valuable lessons came from this small restaurant. The father leaned back slightly. Listening. Watching. In large cities people chase wealth, I continued. But very few understand compassion. Her daughter lowered her eyes shyly. The old man exhaled slowly. You speak wisely for a young man, he said. But wisdom also asks for time. Outside the window, night deepened across the university road. Streetlights glowed softly. Students passed beneath them, carrying books, dreams, ambitions. The same journey once lived inside me. I am ready to give time, I replied. I came here with patience in my heart. The daughter looked toward her father. A silent question passed between them. The old man noticed it. A faint smile appeared at the edge of his lips. You returned after many years, he said. And yet your respect remains the same. I never forgot where my life changed, I answered. The room felt warmer now, more alive. The father slowly stood from his chair. He walked toward the window and looked outside for a moment. His daughter waited quietly. Then he turned back toward me again, as if a new thought had formed in his mind while the quiet restaurant continued to hold the gentle weight of our conversation, and the soft light reflected across the tables where countless meals once carried kindness to a struggling student, and now the same space prepared to witness another turning moment as the old man returned toward the table, and prepared to speak again while his daughter watched both of us carefully, and my heart stayed steady, ready to listen to whatever question he was about to place before me. The old man returned to the table slowly. His footsteps carried years of quiet labor. He pulled the chair closer and sat again. The light above us hummed softly. Outside the window, the university road remained alive, with students walking beneath the streetlights. The daughter stood beside the counter. Her eyes stayed on us, patient, thoughtful. The father rested his hands together. I wish to understand something, he said calmly. His voice felt steady, yet careful. You speak about building a future here. I nodded. Yet your world has grown far beyond this small street. His words held truth. Cities, tall buildings, endless meetings, a different life entirely. But my heart never left this place, I replied. The old man studied my expression, searching for honesty. When I felt tired, I continued softly. I remembered the warmth of this room. The daughter listened closely. Her fingers moved slowly along the wooden counter. As success arrived, the world became louder, I said. But peace always returned with the memory of simple kindness. The father leaned back again, thinking. The daughter finally stepped closer to the table. Her presence filled the small space with quiet warmth. You traveled so far, she said gently. Her voice was softer than I remembered. Yes, I answered. Yet every road somehow curved back to this door. Her eyes held curiosity. And now you wish to remain here, she asked. For as long as life allows. A gentle silence followed. The old man watched both of us carefully. His expression slowly softened. Life inside this restaurant is simple, he said. Early mornings, long hours, hard work. I smiled. Hard work shaped everything I have. The daughter's lips curved slightly. The father noticed it. He folded his arms, considering something deeper. Success often brings pride, he said. But humility keeps a person grounded. My humility began here, I replied quietly. The old man exhaled slowly. The room felt peaceful again, a place where truth could sit comfortably. He looked toward his daughter. She met his eyes. A silent conversation passed between them. Then the father turned back to me. You speak with sincerity, he said. And sincerity deserves careful thought. The daughter stepped even closer now, standing beside the table. Her presence felt natural, as if time had quietly guided us back together. Outside, the streetlights shimmered across the pavement. Inside, the small restaurant carried a new sense of possibility. The father slowly leaned forward again, As if another question had formed inside his thoughtful mind while his daughter remained beside us listening carefully, and the quiet night continued to settle across the university street, and the warm lights inside the restaurant reflected gently across the wooden tables where this story of kindness had once begun and now prepared to move into another moment of understanding as the old man opened his mouth to speak again while I waited, patiently ready to hear the next words that would guide. What comes next? The old man looked at both of us for a long moment. Silence filled the restaurant. Soft, thoughtful, peaceful. Then he smiled. A slow smile, full of warmth and quiet understanding. I watched you grow without seeing you grow, he said gently. His daughter looked at him with surprise. The father turned toward me again. Years ago, a thin student stood outside this door with hope in his eyes. His voice carried memory. I gave him a meal. He paused. But that young man gave something back to the world. My chest tightened with emotion. The daughter listened quietly. Her father continued. Many people eat and forget. But you remembered. The old man reached for his daughter's hand. He placed her hand gently into mine. Kindness must travel forward, he said. It must continue through people who understand its value. Her fingers trembled slightly in my hand. The moment felt larger than words. The father smiled again. If your heart still carries the same gratitude after all these years, then I trust the future you wish to build. The daughter's eyes filled with soft tears. Outside the window, the university lights glowed in the distance. Students continued walking through the gate, just as I once had. Dreams beginning, paths uncertain, but kindness waiting somewhere along the road. I looked at the small restaurant around us, the wooden tables, the warm kitchen light, the place where a hungry student once found hope. My life began here, I said softly, and every good thing I build will carry this kindness forward. The old man nodded proudly. The daughter smiled through quiet emotion. And in that simple restaurant, between warm bread, gentle hearts, and honest gratitude, 3 lives connected through one small act of compassion, because sometimes a single plate of food, offered with a sincere heart, can feed far more than hunger, can build dreams, can create love, and it can remind the world that true wealth never lives in money or success. True wealth lives in kindness, the kind of kindness that changes a life, and quietly continues traveling from one heart to another.